Mr. Emmerson is here for you.
Yes, I just wanted to raise something with you, Garrett. I mean, before Christmas, you was going on TV telling Londoners that they shouldn't be worried about going out and getting into minicabs and taxis because we've got 400 officers. As you know, the Saturday, 3 weeks before Christmas, I was working in the cab, 1 o'clock in the morning, text the enforcement officer telling them that there was a very hot spot in London, that there was hundreds of taps and to come down there and you'll be able to fill your boots. The text, I believe you must know this by now, the text I got back from the enforcement officer was, sorry Grant, I've only got 4 officers out tonight. So are you really telling me, Garrett, that 396 members of staff was off sick, on leave, on holiday, or just not working? Because I don't believe there's 400 officers, and that is typical TfL spin, and you are misleading the public into their safety.
Okay, so you've asked the question. I think we get the point from the question. Let me see if I can get an answer for you. Grant, thanks so much.
Well, Grant, good to speak to you again in the new year for the first time. We've discussed this on email, and you have emails from me that confirm that we actually had over 100 police and TfL officers out on the night in question. In fact, I've subsequently learned that was an underestimate because it didn't take into account another 70 or so police officers that had been drafted in on that night from local borough commands. So that's not what he was told by the TfL enforcement officer, because his team, there were 4 people. It was a team of 12 people, by the way, and there were 4 out that night. And given that they work shift work and so on and work days and nights, that particular
team... So let me just see if I understand it. So he's phoned an enforcement officer who's working within a team of 12.
Yeah.
4 of them are working.
On that particular night.
You are saying that Garrett is taking, Grant is taking that as though it was the whole of London, and that's not the case.
Or the whole of the resource that we've got available. Right. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be aware. I mean, one of the points about doing touting sort of enforcement is that actually you don't necessarily want to know who.
If I was a taxi driver, I'd want to know. If I was a black cab driver, what I mean is I don't want to know the nitty gritty and the fine.
As a private hire driver, it's vital that you don't know.
No, I accept that, but they're mucking about with my livelihood, and the suspicion is, and has always been since I've been on this radio station, is that not enough is being done. So at some point, it's a bit like when you have your tax return, isn't it? It needs to be as low as you can because you don't want to pay tax, as high as you can if you want a mortgage. You need to let the black cabbies know.
But if you don't think the resources are enough, and we can always use more resource, and we are putting more resource into it still. But you can look at it in terms of the statistics. We've seen, the reductions in the reported volume of touting go down from about, 66% of people around 2003 reported having seen it or done it, down to just 16% today. We've seen very large numbers of prosecutions. We've seen over 8,000 arrests for touting over the last few years. We've seen reductions in crime as a result, particularly in terms of sex crime. So I think we could be confident
that
enforcement activities are delivering results.
I accept that, and I've been out twice now, and I've seen the numbers of people, and I think I'm quite good.